Here's something most people over 60 have heard at least once. Maybe from a doctor, maybe from a well-meaning family member, maybe just quietly absorbed over the years. Be careful with eggs, your heart, you know? And so, without much argument, eggs began disappearing from breakfast tables across the country. The cast iron pan that once held scrambled eggs on a Sunday morning sat unused. The carton stayed on the grocery store shelf. A small, familiar pleasure, replaced by caution. Maybe that happened in your kitchen too. But here's what most people don't realize. That warning was built on a piece of research that was misunderstood for decades. And while it spread, millions of older adults quietly gave up one of the most nutrient-dense, age-supporting foods available to them. Stay with me, because what modern science has actually found about eggs and the aging body is genuinely worth understanding, especially if you're over 60. Let's go back to the 1960s for just a moment. Researchers noticed that people with high cholesterol had higher rates of heart disease. Eggs contain cholesterol. The conclusion seemed obvious. Eggs must be part of the problem. But here's where the science quietly shifted. Your liver doesn't just sit passively while you eat. It actively manages your cholesterol levels. When you consume more cholesterol through food, the liver dials back its own production. When you consume less, it produces more. It's a self-correcting system, and it's been working that way your entire life. Beyond that, modern research began distinguishing between two very different types of cholesterol: HDL, often called the protective kind, and LDL, which carries more cardiovascular risk when elevated. Eggs, as part of a balanced diet, have been shown in multiple studies to support HDL levels. In simple terms, they appear to work with your cholesterol balance, not against it. The old fear was built on incomplete science, and this is where things quietly changed for people who kept paying attention. Now let's talk about why eggs matter, specifically for a body over 60, because this is where the real story begins. As we age, something gradual and largely invisible happens to our muscle tissue. The body becomes less efficient at absorbing and using protein. Muscle breaks down a little faster, rebuilding slows. The biological signals that once triggered repair and recovery begin to quiet down. Doctors sometimes refer to this process as sarcopenia, the slow, age-related loss of muscle mass that affects strength, balance, and overall vitality. It's common, and for many older adults, it's happening without them fully realizing it. This is precisely why protein quality matters more after 60 than it ever did in your 30s or 40s. Eggs carry what's called complete protein, all the essential amino acids your body cannot produce on its own. But completeness is only part of the story. Absorption matters just as much. Research suggests that cooked eggs are absorbed by the body at a rate of roughly 90 to 100%. Many plant-based proteins, by comparison, are absorbed at rates somewhere between 50 and 70%. Think of it this way. If protein is fuel, then the quality of that fuel determines how efficiently your engine runs. And after 60, your engine needs the cleanest, most usable fuel it can get. One whole egg delivers approximately 6 grams of that high-quality protein, along with healthy fats that support brain function and a range of micronutrients that many older adults are quietly deficient in without ever suspecting it. And this is why many people get confused. They assume all protein sources are more or less equal, but for an aging body working to maintain muscle, support cognition, and sustain energy through the day, the source genuinely matters more than most people realize. So now that we understand why eggs are particularly valuable for the aging body, let's talk about what they're actually doing once they're inside you, system by system, quietly working in ways most people never connect to something as simple as breakfast. Start with energy, because this is often the first thing older adults notice. Most people over 60 are familiar with a particular kind of tiredness, not the satisfying tiredness that comes from a full day of work, the other kind. The low, dull fatigue that settles in by mid-morning, even when the night before felt reasonably restful, the kind that makes the afternoon stretch out longer than it should. A significant part of that pattern comes down to how the body is being fueled in those first hours of the day. Eggs contain a slow, steady combination of complete protein and healthy fat. Unlike a carbohydrate-heavy breakfast, toast, cereal, pastry, which can spike blood sugar and then drop it sharply within an hour or two. Eggs support what researchers describe as sustained energy release. This is why some older adults notice they feel genuinely steady 2 hours after eggs, but hungry and slightly flat after cereal or toast alone. It's not imagination, it's biochemistry. Eggs don't give you a rush, they give you a floor, a stable, reliable baseline that carries you through the morning without the drop. From energy, the conversation moves naturally to muscle, and this connection matters more than most people realize. Something gradual and largely invisible begins happening to muscle tissue after the age of 40. The body starts losing muscle mass at a slow but steady rate, and by 60, that loss has accumulated in ways that quietly affect posture, balance, walking strength, and metabolism. Doctors refer to this process as sarcopenia. It's common, and it progresses in the background without announcing itself. But here's what nutrition researchers have been paying close attention to in recent years. One specific amino acid appears to play an outsized role in signaling the body to rebuild muscle tissue. It's called leucine. Think of it less like a building block and more like a trigger. When leucine is present in sufficient quantity, it activates the process of muscle repair and synthesis. When it's absent, that signal simply doesn't fire. Eggs are one of the more concentrated dietary sources of leucine available, and this is why whole eggs, not just protein in general, are increasingly being studied for their relevance to adults over 60 who want to maintain strength and mobility as the years move forward. Now, here's the one that tends to surprise people most. Inside every egg yolk is a nutrient most people have genuinely never heard of: choline. It doesn't get the attention that protein or vitamins do, but choline plays a meaningful role in a process called methylation, essentially the body's ability to regulate, maintain, and repair itself at a cellular level. Methylation influences mood, memory, mental clarity, and even the quality of sleep. Research suggests that a significant portion of adults, somewhere around 40%, are not getting adequate choline through their regular diet. And when choline is low, combined with insufficient B12 and folate, both also present in eggs, the effects can quietly resemble what many older adults simply accept as normal aging: mild brain fog, a low mood that's hard to explain, a sense that thinking takes slightly more effort than it once did. What this really means is some of what feels like just getting older may actually be a nutrient gap, not a dramatic deficiency, just a quiet, gradual shortfall that's been going unaddressed for years. Eggs address several of those gaps in a single sitting. And while we're talking about things that quietly protect us, the eyes deserve a moment. Two nutrients found specifically in egg yolks, lutein and zeaxanthin, concentrate directly in the retina, the light-sensitive layer at the back of the eye responsible for sharp, detailed vision. Their function is essentially protective. They filter harmful blue light and help defend the retinal cells that make clear sight possible. In a world where screens have become unavoidable, phones, televisions, tablets, this kind of protection matters more than previous generations ever had to think about. And what makes egg yolks particularly useful here is that the lutein they contain appears to be absorbed by the body at a higher rate than lutein from most plant-based sources. The fat in the yolk itself seems to assist with that absorption. Beyond all of this, a single whole egg also delivers meaningful amounts of vitamin D, which plays a role in bone density and immune resilience, vitamin K2, which helps guide calcium toward bones and away from arterial walls, and retinol, the form of vitamin A the body can use immediately without conversion, supporting skin integrity, vision, and immune function. It's worth saying clearly, eggs are not a replacement for medical guidance or a balanced overall diet, but for a single whole food, the range of nutrients present in one egg is genuinely difficult to match with simplicity. Not all eggs deliver equally, and this is worth a moment of honest clarity. Caged eggs come from hens with the most restricted conditions and the least varied diet.
Cage-free represents a modest improvement in living environment, though not always in nutritional output. Pasture-raised eggs, from hens with outdoor access and a more natural diet, consistently show higher levels of vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acids in independent nutritional analyses. If pasture-raised fits your budget, it's a meaningful upgrade. If it doesn't, a standard egg from any reputable grocery store still carries substantial nutritional value. The perfect shouldn't become the obstacle to the good. One final practical note on how to get the most from them. Eggs pair particularly well with vegetables: tomatoes, spinach, bell peppers, leafy greens. The healthy fats in eggs improve the body's absorption of fat-soluble nutrients from those vegetables considerably. Some research suggests that carotenoid absorption can increase significantly when vegetables are eaten alongside a fat source like eggs. A simple plate of eggs with tomatoes and spinach isn't just a convenient meal, it's two foods working together more effectively than either would alone. So here's the honest summary after all of it. Eggs are not something to fear. For adults over 60, they may be one of the most practical, affordable, and quietly powerful foods available, supporting muscle, brain function, eye health, sustained energy, and cellular maintenance all at once. 2 or 3 whole eggs most mornings as part of a thoughtful and balanced diet is a simple and meaningful way to support how your body moves through the years ahead. Sometimes, the foods we quietly set aside out of caution turn out to be the ones our bodies were asking for all along. That's worth sitting with for a moment. If this was helpful, the next video looks at another food that works remarkably well alongside eggs, one that most older adults already have in their kitchen and may be quietly underestimating. I'll see you there.